advantage of similar programs in our country. You have people in lower income areas utilizing their food stamps to buy lobster, to buy other luxury items, and that is something that cannot stand. As president, I will take a hard stance, and I will appoint people to look into people and their usage of government programs such as food stamps, EBT, etc., to make sure that when we are giving aid to our people, we are giving the people the aid they need and nothing more. Thank you.
Secretary Hillary.
Social Security reflects our country's belief that every American should be able to retire with dignities for decades of hard work. That no American should face poverty because he or she is disabled or when a loved one dies. Social Security isn't just a program, it's a promise. As President of the United States of America, I will defend Social Security against Republican attempts to legislate policy that would jeopardize its existence. Republicans use scare tactics questioning the future of effectiveness of Social Security to fuel their agenda. The real threat is their attempts to undermine the bedrock of the system. I believe Social Security is what it's always been. A rock-solid benefit that seniors can always count on, not subject to the whims of Congress or fluctuation in the stock market. I will fight to expand Social Security for those who need it most and those who are treated unfairly by the current system, including women who are widows and those who took significantly time out of their paid workforce to take care of a loved one who is sick or a newborn child. Social Security for decades to come, I will ask the wealthiest to contribute more because they need to. I will not cut Social Security. I will defend it and I will expand it.
Mr. Trump.
You know, it's interesting, Hillary, that you mentioned Republican attempts to defund Social Security because, as I believe I said just minutes ago, I am in full support of Social Security. And in fact, it's interesting that you mentioned seniors because last time I checked, I was polling far better with seniors than you were. Our senior citizens are a valuable asset to this nation. They've given all they can, and we need to return to them. And that is why I do not support cutting Social Security. In fact, I support keeping it the same. I do not want to cut any benefits from Social Security on our senior citizens, on our retired citizens, on anyone, so long as they've paid their fair share into the system first, and they've earned it. Thank you.
Mrs. Clinton.
Mr. Trump, I would like to just say that my plan will strengthen Medicare by reducing health care costs, enhancement of protected Social Security for future generations by asking the wealthiest to pay more. I don't think any part of your campaign wants the wealthy to pay more. I'll fight attempts to privatize and weaken I'll fight attempts to prioritize and weaken these programs. I'm absolutely committed to universal health care.
When did we start talking about health care? This is a question about Social Security, not Medicaid, not health care. What is this?
Social Security leads in for Medicare and Medicaid.
All right.
And those attempts, I want to reduce the taxes for the middle class, and you're all about raising or not raising our taxes.
Seems to me like you ought to check your sources because I've never advocated raising taxes on the middle class. In fact, my tax plan will cut taxes for lower and middle class families by 12%. While
Did you fact check that?
Why don't you tell me your sources, Ms. Clinton? Why don't you tell me the source that tells you what my tax plan will do? Because under my tax plan,
taxes.
your tax cuts, I'm speaking,
Okay.
Senator.
Okay. On the next question, Mrs. Hillary, you're up. How will you manage to handle the racial problem and the brutality of police as president? Your time starts now.
Okay. So, to raise the awareness of police brutality and police, we have got to use gun control. We have to have some sort of gun regulation, common sense regulation, and comprehensive regulation on these guns. With police brutality and racial issues, women are not involved in racial issues, but they're also a big part of the issue that falls in with that category. We need to break down barriers for both African Americans, Asian Americans, Hispanic Americans, and women in all these scenarios. I've been a lifelong advocate for women's rights and a lifelong advocate for racial issues and African Americans.
Mr. Trump?
You know, it's funny that you say you've been a lifelong advocate for women's rights, because I do have it on record where you called Jennifer Flowers, a woman that your husband knows very well,
Let's stay on topic.
trailer trash.
Let's stay on topic, Mr. Trump. Let's stay on topic.
Excuse me. Now, the issue of gun violence, as I said earlier, is very important to me. But I do not believe that by taking guns away from honest, hardworking citizens that we will address this problem in any sense. In fact, what we will be doing is making those people with guns that want to do harm to our citizens even stronger. I believe that the best way to tackle gun violence in this country is by working with police. Now, Hillary Clinton, as you all know, does not support the police. She has allied herself with those that are anti-police, in fact. And I support a plan to bring police into local communities, to bring the law enforcement of our communities closer to the people, to get them closer to all of the people, because I support police. I support their ability to uphold our Constitution and uphold our laws, whether these police are white, African American, Hispanic, Asian, women even. I support their ability to uphold our law, and I believe that by bringing them into the community and by enforcing much stricter penalties on violent criminals. In fact, in Richmond, there's a thing called Project Exile. Maybe you've read up on it, but this is a system by which violent felons are tried far more harshly than they are anywhere else. It's been in effect for about 10 years. You can look it up, you can fact check it. And this has been in place for about 10 years, and Richmond, the city of Richmond, Virginia, has seen a 22% or more decrease in violent crime every year that it has been in place. And so it is by reaching out to our law enforcement, by bringing them closer to our community, and by strengthening those ties, all the while cracking down much harder on violent criminals, that we will make America safe again.
Your 1 minute response, Hillary?
Okay, our criminal justice system is out of balance. People are crying out for help, and they're crying out for criminal justice reform, and that's what my plan is. The community, I want to bring the community and police together. I want to bring law enforcement and communities together throughout the whole country. Making it clear when deadly force is warranted and when it is emphasizing, proven that it's still methods of killing, murder, homicides. That's where that reform will take place. I'll acknowledge that implicit bias still exists across the nation, even in the police departments, and we will tackle it together.
Chance to respond, Mr. Trump.
If there is a bias, I believe that we do have to work on that. And I agree with my opponent on this matter. But this fact of people crying out for help to save us from our law enforcement, these are fine, hardworking people upholding our laws and going after criminals. And you will see, if you look into what I believe my opponent here was implying, several recent cases of young men often being killed by police. If you look into these cases, fact check it if you will, preferably not through her website, they're just telling you what they want you to know, you will find that in all but maybe one or two of these cases, the shooting, the actions the officer takes are justified, because these officers are the backbone of our society. Thank you.
Our next segment will be environment and health. As president, what steps would you take to counter the problems like climate change? Mr. Trump?
If you could perhaps expand that idea for me. What do you mean by problems like climate change?
What will be our first steps in getting involved or fighting climate change?
You know, climate change, I believe, is an issue, but there are much more important issues facing our country right now than climate change, than global warming. We've all seen the day after tomorrow.
To remind the candidate to stay on topic.
You know, as far as climate change is concerned, I am a huge proponent of clean energy. I've always been for clean energy, the technological advancement that it shows and that it requires, and what it will do for our nation, both jobs-wise, economically, and to help the environment. However, we have a massive source of untapped potential underneath our feet. By this I mean we are not utilizing the natural resources we have right now, our coal, our oil. We are exporting this money to foreign countries to buy their oil that they are shipping to us, and we're losing American jobs. We are making sure that this oil is produced in factories, in refineries, with much less strict environmental standards that is polluting the environment further than we would by creating it domestically. And I believe that U.S. energy and U.S. natural resources are the key to powering our nation while we look into these alternative sources of energy moving into the future.
Secretary Hillary Clinton.
Mr. Trump's not latest tweet, but one of his tweets said that he thought climate change was a Chinese hoax.
That was a tweet from years ago.
I
Why aren't you
won't-
stopping
I
her,
won't let
moderator?
anyone-
She's talking about social
Donald
media
Trump.
on this stage.
Let Hillary talk.
I won't let anyone take us backwards for climate change. Our economy and the benefits of harnessing a clean energy future, or force our children to endure the catastrophe of what would happen if nothing gets done. Climate change is an urgent threat and is defying in our generation. What we decide about the Earth's environment will not only affect us, but our children and our grandchildren and our children's grandchildren. It is an issue that is making America an issue that we can address. We can make America the world's clean energy superpower, along with creating millions of good-paying jobs. I plan to set bold national goals for the first days in office, and I will implement to extend that policy for the first in the